Hello everyone. So in the last lecture we had seen something about the effects of atmosphere and the effects of atmosphere on human being, environment as well as other living organisms. Also we had seen a major unit how the environment causes interrelation with that of the organisms which are interrelated. That means biotic and abiotic organisms which are interrelated to each other, and how do they affect each other is one of the important criteria what we had seen. Also in the last lecture, one of a major aspect of discussion was greenhouse effect. So before studying the greenhouse effect, we had done something about the greenhouse gases. We had seen which are the major greenhouse gases. We had turned on into pages like which are the major components of greenhouse gases, which are the three major greenhouse gases. Also we had seen that greenhouse gases and its effect on the process of heating of temperature, bringing heat to temperature at a one point to the earth's surface. That was a major point of discussion for the last time. So in today's lecture, we are going to look forward for a new concept, and the concept is called as global warming. I know even though the concept seems to be very much simple to you people, you also know the concept very well because each and everyone nowadays is discussing about the topic that is called as global warming, and it is very common right now. Whenever you go outside and you talk about an environment, the point which comes, the first point rather which comes before us is talk about global warming, discuss about global warming. So we are going to discuss about global warming. I know you people know it, but we are going and try furthermore to look at some of the important concepts of global warming. For example, we'll just look at what do you mean by global warming? How does the global warming take place? What are the causes of global warming? What are the precautions to be taken in the global warming, and etc. etc. So let's start with the actual concept of global warming. So what do you mean by global warming? On an average, I would give a definition for this global warming as it is a rise in the temperature of earth climate. Okay, so basically if anyone asks you what is global warming, ये पहला जो आंसर निकलता है वो ऐसा होता है कि इट इज अ राइज इन द टेम्परेचर ऑफ अर्थ एटमॉस्फेयर. दैट्स इट, उसे हम ग्लोबल वार्मिंग कहते हैं. बट इज इट this much enough to explain a global warming? No. Reason is because it has many more patterns. So for example, अभी जैसे मैंने कहा था rise in the temperature of earth atmosphere, मतलब अर्थ की क्लाइमेट में राइज होना उसे ग्लोबल वार्मिंग कहेगी. बट सिर्फ उतने पे ही नहीं रुकेंगे, बट रादर इट वुड change our definition, and the changes are when this temperature rise not only gives a change in the earth climate system, but also it causes a change in the rainfall. Okay, so mark down these words. You will not find this on the slide, you have to note it down. So change in the rainfall patterns. So for example, you can see what we are facing right now. So that is a change in the pattern of a rainfall. That means when we expect heavy rainfall at these seasons, right now we are not getting that much kind of heavy rainfalls. On an other hand, the areas which do not expect that heavy rainfall in that particular area, for example the Mumbai high areas, they do not expect that much high rainfall, but they get very much rainfall or a heavy rainfall, so much so that for example again an area of Assam or Konkan. So you'll find reason is because there is a change in the pattern change. That means the winds which are carrying the rainfall with it, जो कैरी किया जाता है, बादलों को कैरी किया जाता है विंड्स के हेल्प से, वो एक्चुअली पैटर्न पूरी तरह से चेंज हो चुका है ग्लोबल वार्मिंग की वजह से. अब पैटर्न कैसे चेंज हुआ है? द नॉर्मल पैटर्न इज बेसिकली द विंड्स विच फ्लो फ्रॉम द surface of the earth, and that to that of the comparative sea surface are very much different. That means sea surface से जो जाने वाली waves होंगी उसमें से जो moisture capture होगा वो ज़्यादा होता है comparatively earth के moisture से. Okay, agreed? Fine. But now we have that rain is going to come, so the wind should blow from the seas, for example Arabian seas, Atlantic seas, etc., etc., and then they should pass on from the northern south, come to the southern part, and moving on from the south part they should move to the east and the west at the same time. But actually what is happening, it is turning on in a very drastic manner. Similarly, the rainfall should be very much at a good peak during the seasons of July to August, normally in India. But at the same time, it should be on a high peak at the area of hilly regions. So जहाँ पे आपको hilly regions काफ़ी अच्छे दिखते हैं या फिर hills होते हैं, पहाड़ होते हैं, वहाँ पे आपको काफ़ी अच्छी अमाउंट में रेनफॉल देखने को मिल जा सकता है. But now what we find, the actually area of rain is somewhere diverted. So the area of diversion is called as rainfall patterns. Okay, so it is diverting. रेनफॉल पैटर्न डाइवर्ट हो चुका है, और डाइवर्ट हो चुका है मतलब क्या हो रहा है, अब सीशोर पे से ज्यादा रेनफॉल हो रहा है, समंदर में ज्यादा रेनफॉल हो रहा है, एंड इन टर्न ऑल द रेन इज बीइंग वेस्टेड अवे. Second important thing, the rain which is having the actually ability to get captured into the earth surface is not there, बिकॉज हम लोगों ने काफ़ी ज़्यादा कंस्ट्रक्शन कर दिया है. सो मॉइस्चर कैपेसिटी या मॉइस्चर को कैच करने की कैपेसिटी जो सॉइल में होती है, वो सॉइल हमारे पास बचा नहीं है. बिकॉज वी आर लैगिंग बिहाइंड विद द सॉइल, देयर इज अ वेरी ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ चेंज इन द वेदर एंड सीजन्स. बिकॉज अगर अर्थ फ्रूटफुल नहीं रहेगा तो वेदर फ्रूटफुल नहीं रह सकता है. हेंसफोर्थ आपको याद रखना है कि ग्लोबल वार्मिंग इज एक्चुअली अ क्लाइमेट चेंज. This climate change can be a periodical climate change. This climate change can cause extreme weather. This can change extreme seasonal changes. They can cause extreme rainfall pattern changes. So that is basically something about the global warming. Okay. Now एक यहाँ पे sentence मैंने लिखा है. It also includes effects such as precipitation. So that is one of the important criteria of global warming. Now what do you mean by precipitation? So precipitation सबको ऑलमोस्ट पता होता है कि द पार्ट इन विच वाटर इज प्रेजेंट, वहाँ पे कंडेंसेशन होना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप एक कंसिडर कर लो कि यू आर कीपिंग बॉइलिंग वेसल and you have covered it up, okay, with a plate. So if you have covered it up with a plate, what will happen, all the moisture will be there captured on a plate, and again it will be going back into the vessel itself. वो फिर से बर्तन में जमा हो जाएगा. But what happens over here, we have almost cut down मैक्सिमम ट्रीज, जिसकी वजह से हमने पहले भी डिस्कस किया था ये पार्ट कि जितनी कम ट्रीज होंगे उतना ही ज़्यादा हमें सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम होगा वाटर रिटेंशन का. मतलब वाटर होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी अर्थ की कम हो जाएगी. उससे क्या होगा, जैसे ही सन रेज, जैसे हमने ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट में देखा था, जैसे ही सन रेज आते हैं और डैश करते हैं अर्थ सरफेस में विद द हेल्प ऑफ passing through the atmospheric layer, what you will find, these rays will directly enter in the earth. They will cover the earth surface, and when they will cover the earth surface, they will cause a heat on the earth surface. Because of this heat, the water gets condensed. That means वो ऊपर जाना शुरू हो जाता है भाप के फॉर्म में, and of course it will later on form in a form of pattern of clouds. But precipitation is one of the important criteria for global warming. Okay, so precipitation occurs in some parts of portions of atmosphere where you can find water vapors. जैसे अभी हमने डिस्कस किया था, भाप बन के ऊपर जाने की प्रोसेस में शुरू हो जाता है. दैट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ वाटर वेपर्स. सो दैट इट इज कॉल्ड एज वाटर कंडेंसेशन. आपको याद रखना है कि precipitation can also be called as a water condensation process. Then where do we find basically these kind of regions, or which are the main regions? So basically this main forms can be seen in the areas where the heat and temperature is very much at the surface level. Okay, on another hand this can also be found, जैसे अभी हमने डिस्कस किया था, on the water surface level. So it can be on the seashores or oceans, rivers. You can find a good amount of precipitation over there. And what are the forms of precipitant? प्रेसिपिटेंट्स मतलब जो भाप भर के ऊपर जाता है वाटर ड्रॉपलेट्स, उसे हम प्रेसिपिटेंट्स कहेंगे. सो प्रेसिपिटेशन यानी सिर्फ एक काइंड में नहीं होता है कि भाप बन के ऊपर चला गया है. इट कैन take different forms also. For example, some cases it forms a drizzle, while other it forms a rain. Some other form is sleets, snows, ice plates, gravels, hails, etc. Now what do you mean by all these things? So basically rain सबको पता है कि भाप बन के ऊपर जाना, it will form a cloud and then it will come back on the earth in a form of a rain. So that is simple. Next one is snow. So basically some kind of earth water and water surface body water which is precipitated and raised up to higher level. At some point they travel, और जब ये ट्रैवल करते हैं एक ही जगह पे भाप बन के वहीं पे क्लाउड तैयार किया, ऐसा नहीं होता है कभी. द क्लाउड्स एक्चुअली ट्रैवल, हेंसफोर्थ हम उसे वेव्स कहते हैं. दैट मीन्स जो हमने अभी बोला था रेनफॉल पैटर्न्स चेंज हो रहे हैं, उसे हम वेव्स कहते हैं. दैट मीन वेव्स के हिसाब से चेंज होता है. सो ये क्या होता है, स्नोई पार्ट में जहाँ पे कोल्डर रीजन एरिया है, कहीं वहां पे चले जाते हैं क्लाउड्स, एंड वहां पे जाने के बाद में इंस्टेड ऑफ coming down in a form of a water droplet, it is actually coming as a form of a snow. Reason is because the area over there, the temperature over there, the precipitation capacity over there is very very low. Condensation बहुत ज़्यादा low होता है, so कई बार वहाँ पे snow हो जाता है. Similarly, you can find the same condition in our cities also. You can see sometimes हम जिसे कहते हैं कि बारिश में आपको आइस दिखते हैं, छोटे छोटे आइस दिखते हैं, राइट? So that is the same condition what I am talking about. So many a times when the conditions over in your area get so much favorable that the temperature becomes very low and the water is actually not in a form of a rain droplet but it is actually converting itself. ये बादल में ही conversion शुरू रहता है. It is one of the kind of chemical reactions. And these chemical reactions, what they do, they convert themselves and they form a actually ice block, small ice blocks or larger ice blocks comparatively however the region is or the favorable condition is there. When they form an ice blocks, they just come down in a form of a ice, small ice or larger ice. But one thing more, ये सब जो प्रोसेस चलता है, दैट मीन्स प्रेसिपिटेशन जो प्रोसेस चलता है, इसमें आप हर एक चीज इंक्लूड कर सकते हो बट फॉग इंक्लूड नहीं कर सकते. ओके, प्रेसिपिटेशन में फॉग नहीं होता है. फॉग या फिर मिस्ट बेसिकली एक दो ऐसी प्रोसेस होती है जहाँ पे पोल्यूटेंट्स कंबाइन होते हैं आपके रेन वाटर ड्रॉपलेट्स के साथ. इसीलिए फॉग और मिस्ट को प्रेसिपिटेशन नहीं कहेंगे. प्रेसिपिटेशन इज बेसिकली अ प्योर फॉर्म ऑफ वाटर. You can actually collect the ice which is falling down, which you can actually use the rainwater. Actually, it happens, but you can't use a fog. Basically, fog is being used by organisms, but that is another pattern. Mist is used by organisms, especially the organisms which are autotrophs or which are heterotrophs, some kind of vegetarian animals, some kind of even herbivorous animal do use fog and mist. But it is a different pattern. We humans cannot use fog and mist directly. Reason is because fog and mist is basically a combination of pollutant. So fog कहाँ पे तैयार होता है और mist कैसे तैयार होता है, ये आप लोगों को मुझे comment section में लिख के बताना है. Next one, there is an important part that intergovernmental panel of climate change. ये आपको याद रखना है, by heart करना है. Short form is IPCC. It has given some of the norms due to which global warming is taking place. That means they have carried out some of the research, and according to the research, this IPCC has given few of the major drawbacks of human being involved into the playing a major role into the global warming process. Now what they have said that humans have created the greenhouse gases. Like हमने लास्ट लेक्चर में ही देखा था. So greenhouse gases basically are carbon dioxide and methane at a max. So when these greenhouse gases are being created by human because of the burning of the fossil fuels, agriculture, deforestation, industrialization, etc etc. What happens, there is a huge amount of emission of greenhouse gases, that is carbon dioxide. जितना ज़्यादा आप डिफॉरेस्टेशन करोगी, आपका कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एब्जॉर्ब करने के लिए कोई भी नहीं रहेगा. जितना ज़्यादा फॉसिल फ्यूल बर्न करोगे उतना कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड रिलीज आउट होगा, मीथेन रिलीज आउट होगा. जितना आप ज़्यादा कंपनीज ये करोगे, धुआं बाहर निकलेगा. व्हाट विल हैपन, of course there will be a major change, that more amount of methane products, more amount of ethane products, more amount of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide will be released out as an industrial waste product. And these industrial waste products are coming out. What they are doing, they are forming a surface, like we had discussed that the atmosphere layers, so they are forming a layer. And what is happening right now is greenhouse gases are getting more and more at an impact, due to which what we are having a problem right now, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा heat capture करके earth में भेजा जा रहा है. But we do not have plants over here to convert this all kind of gaseous material into an important food product. Henceforth, what is taking actually, what is happening actually right now is, because plants are not there, जो भी heat आ रहा है वो heat कहाँ पे directly करेगा impact? आपके snow पे, आपके water पे, आपके permafrost पे. Okay. सो पेरेमाफ्रॉस्ट की हमने सबसे पहले लेक्चर में ही डिस्कस किया था. यू कैन जस्ट गो बैक एंड लुक एट इट, व्हाट इज द कांसेप्ट ऑफ पेरेमाफ्रॉस्ट. सो ये डायरेक्टली इफेक्ट करता है स्नोई एरियाज पे. एट द सेम टाइम ये इफेक्ट करता है उन एरियाज पे जहाँ पे एक्चुअली बहुत ज़्यादा डेजर्ट एरियाज होंगे. और सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट जो इफेक्ट होता है वो होता है नेचुरल हीट क्रिएट करना, नेचुरल वेव्स, हीट वेव्स क्रिएट करना, जिसे हम वाइल्ड फायर्स के नाम से भी जानते हैं. सो इन द लास्ट ईयर we had two major wildfires, right? So you can just go back for the last year and you can study which were the two major wildfires, and you have to tell me which was the animal, where was the wildfire taken place, and which were the animal which had a problem because of these wildfires. Okay, because this was a question asked last time. So wildfires create होते हैं, स्नोज पिघलना शुरू हो जाते हैं, पेरेमाफ्रॉस्ट खत्म होना शुरू हो जाता है. दीज आर ऑल important concepts, because if snow covering is affected, because permafrost is being lost, the layer of the earth which is actually being protected by some kind of snowy material, it is giving moisture to the earth material, again it will get open and earth will start more heating up. So that is called as global warming. सो जितना ज़्यादा आपका बर्फ पिघल जाएगा, आपका अर्थ सरफेस ओपन अप हो जाएगा, जितना ज़्यादा ओपन अप हो जाएगा अर्थ सरफेस, आपका अपने आप ही अर्थ गर्म होना शुरू हो जाएगा. सो कंसिडर लाइक यू हैव केप्ट अ वेसल ऑन अ स्टोव, उसमें पानी नहीं होगा, आप उसको ढक के नहीं रखोगे तो पानी सारा उड़ जाएगा. और जितने टाइम में पानी उड़ जाएगा, ऑफकोर्स बर्तन एक टाइम के बाद में सारा पानी सूख जाएगा और बर्तन काफी ज्यादा गर्म हो जाएगा. सो दैट इज द सेम पार्ट ऑफ ग्लोबल वार्मिंग. उससे होगा क्या दूसरा इफेक्ट, योर डेजर्ट्स आर इंक्रीजिंग. सो बेसिकली इफ यू स्टडी some, we have to combine the study now. For this part, that is expansion of deserts, you have to combine actually a study part. So basically I mean combining of study part is, you have to go back into the history and some kind of geography and study how deserts were formed. So basically the deserts are formed, these were oceans, these were not deserts, and because of their climate change, these oceans have been created into the deserts. And what is now happening, what we are creating, we are increasing the temperature of the land surface area, and because we are increasing the temperature of land surface area, the desert area is expanding. So if you go for the geography of past few years, you will see that the deserts were having a limited area. The desert was not that expanded, but the desert was having a very limited area. On an other hand, now the desert area is expanded very much. Again, one more thing, these desert areas have created its expansion of areas with such a great intensity कि वहाँ पे वाइल्ड लाइफ जो प्लांट्स होते हैं, एग्रीकल्चर होते हैं, वो वहाँ पे सब खत्म कर देते हैं. दैट मीन्स द लैंड is completely barren. It turns on into a barren land. That means a land does not causes any agricultural facility for further generations, and that is the problem which causes a global warming. Because when the globe is heating up itself, सिर्फ पानी या सिर्फ बर्फ या सिर्फ पेरिमफ्रॉस्ट वो खत्म नहीं होगा, बट उसे सबसे ज्यादा और एक इम्पैक्ट होने वाला है कि जो एक्चुअली आपके पास फॉरेस्ट है वो अपने आप फायर शुरू हो जाता है वहां पे एकदम से ऑल ऑफ अ सडनली इतना डिस्ट्रक्शन शुरू हो जाता है. All of a sudden the humans are not directly involved, they are indirectly involved, but actually involved. That means wildfire हो जाते हैं, wildfire तैयार हो जाते हैं, इतना ज़्यादा wildfire हो जाता है कि it is out of the control of human existence. And that is one of the wildfire which took place in Australia. Okay, so I've given one of the answer, you have to tell me the second answer. That which was the second city of wildfire and which are the animals which have been lost in the wildfires in these two cases. Similarly, desert आप देख सकते हो. For example, Thar Desert is one of the deserts which have to be studied very intensively. So Thar Desert बढ़ गया है, Sahara Desert बढ़ गया है. That means expansion हो गया है. In deserts का expansion हो गया है. And why is it causing expansion? Just because we are cutting down the trees. Just because we are cutting down the trees, global warming is expanding. It is taking place, and agriculture is lost. Okay. The next part, the surface temperature of course is increasing, but surface temperature सबसे ज़्यादा impact कहाँ पे करेगा? Like I said in the last lecture on the greenhouse effect, it will cause this major effect on the southern and the northern pole. Okay, that is the major part you have to keep in mind. Why these regions only? Because we had discussed in the very first or second lecture, if I'm not wrong, that Earth is not round. It is actually a spherical in shape. वो बॉल की तरह नहीं है पूरी तरह से राउंड, वो एक्चुअली एक बेसबॉल की तरह है, समवट स्पेरिकल इन शेप. या फिर आप एक एग कंसिडर कर लो, जिसको अगर बेसबॉल पता नहीं होता है, आप एक एग कंसिडर कर लो. एग गोल नहीं होता है, एग स्पेरिकल होता है शेप में. सेम इज एक्चुअली द अर्थ. सो वी हैव अ प्रेजेंटेशन दैट अर्थ इज राउंड, but actually earth is spherical in shape. And why? What happens because of global warming? Because of global warming, impact होता है यहाँ पे Arctic oceans या Arctic spheres में. That means North Hemisphere and South Hemisphere. North Hemisphere and South Hemisphere में क्या होता है? Especially if you talk about the Arctic zone, you can go for the polar. Okay, polar यानी जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा बर्फ ही बर्फ होगा. For example, the northern part, like India, हम कश्मीर ले सकते हैं, या फिर अगर आपको पूरे ग्लोब का सोचना है तो आप नॉर्थ पोल ऐसे कंसिडर करोगे. सो व्हाट हैपेंस ओवर हियर इन द आर्टिक रीजन, द पोलर आइस starts melting down, okay, because of this global warming. Now what is the impact? Because polar ice is melting down, of course it will impact on your environment. What impact? सबसे बड़ा impact होगा flood आएगा. ओके, इकोसिस्टम पूरा डिस्टर्ब हो जाता है बिकॉज वाटर लेवल अर्थ जितना हैंडल कर सकता है. वन मोर थिंग, हम लोगों को लगता है दैट वी ह्यूमंस आर वेरी इंटेलिजेंट एंड वी कैन हैंडल एवरीथिंग वेरी इजीली, बट एक्चुअली द नेचर इज वेरी इंटेलिजेंट. नेचर हैज इट्स ओन प्लान्स एंड दैट इज द प्लान ऑफ द नेचर. वो उतना ही एटमॉस्फेयर रखता है जितना अर्थ लैंड कंट्रोल कर पाएगी. वो उतना ही एटमॉस्फेयर क्रिएट करेगा जितना ह्यूमन कंट्रोल कर पाएगा. सिमिलरली अगर आप उसको खराब कर दोगे तो इम्पैक्ट क्या होगा? स्पीशीज खत्म होना शुरू हो जाती है. सो दैट इज बेसिकली a completely end up of species, or else if the species are not going to die, they completely move on from that place. That means they completely change their geographical areas. For example, that is called as relocation. That is moving on of the species from one part to another part, that is called as relocation. So basically एक एग्जाम्पल इसके लिए देती हूँ मैं आपको. लास्ट ईयर का आप एक कोई भी पेपर खोल लो which has something like a title extension of species, and आपको मिलेगा one horned rhinoceros which was a very popular rhinoceros in the parts of Assam, as well as this rhinoceros was one of the very popular form because it was rare in the species. वो species सब जगह नहीं था, वो species बहुत common जगह पे मिलता था because of atmospheric condition. Because वहाँ पे atmosphere change हुआ, ecosystem change हुआ, ecosystem वहाँ पे manage नहीं कर पा रहा था वो animal, इसलिए last species जो आसाम में बचा था वो भी खत्म हो गया. Now this is the part that it is a case in Assam. You can find right now also some of the species, if I'm not wrong, in China, in parts of China. So you can find there. But the problem is India has lost the species. So हमने ये species खत्म कर दिया है. Second important part, for example, relocation of many species. अभी मैंने बोला था. So what do you mean by relocation? Basically, जब कोई species completely अपने आप को एक environment system से दूसरे environment system में ले जाता है और पूरा geographical area छोड़ देता है खुद का, that is called as relocation. So basically, relocation is the normal phenomenon of organisms and birds and animals. Especially, you can find the flamingo birds. Right now in this season you can find the flamingo birds in Python. Okay, so there are flamingo birds, but they have not relocated themselves. They have just made a shift for the atmosphere change. Actually, flamingo birds do not belong to India. That is one of the important criteria you have to keep in mind. Especially, you can find the flamingo birds in the colder regions. So if they even come in the areas, they do not have the capability to resist the temperature of Maharashtra, but still they are here. Why? Because somewhere the temperature is extreme low and they find that they cannot survive in the extreme conditions of such a low condition or such a low weather. Henceforth, what they did, they relocate for a certain time space. But जब पूरा का पूरा एक एनिमल स्पीशीज खत्म हो जाता है उस एरिया में से, हम उसे कंप्लीट रिलोकेशन कहते हैं. ओके, उस नेक्स्ट वन, द ग्लोबल वार्मिंग हैज अ मेजर इफेक्ट ऑन, जैसे हमने कहा था, आर्टिक्स, सी लेवल्स, ओशंस राइज होती है, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इंक्रीज हो जाता है. इसका सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है ओशंस में एसिड्स क्रिएट होना शुरू हो जाते हैं. दैट मीन्स आइस बहुत ज्यादा मेल्ट डाउन होती है, सो वाटर लेवल इंक्रीज हो जाता है. एज द वाटर लेवल इंक्रीजेज, ऑफ कोर्स द वाटर बॉडीज इनसाइड द वाटर लेवल हैज टू इंक्रीज, करेक्ट? सो इट ऑल्सो चेंजेस अकॉर्डिंग टू द वाटर सिस्टम. तो मैंने अभी कहा था, नेचर इज एक्चुअली वेरी ब्रिलियंट. व्हाट इट टेक्स प्लेस, कोरल रीफ बढ़ना शुरू हो जाते हैं. सो बेसिकली आप कोरल रीफ के लिए आप गूगल सर्च कर सकते हो. इट इज वन काइंड ऑफ द स्पीशीज विच इज वेरी पॉपुलरली फाउंड in deep sea waters. Okay, deep oceans, deep sea waters, you can find coral reef. Why coral reef you have to study? Reason is because coral reef is the life system of ocean. They are basically called as the life system of oceans. So coral reef change हो जाते हैं, mountains change होते हैं. For example, you can find of some of the newspapers or some of the news articles which mentions that the Mount Everest has changed its size. Have you ever read this article? I would suggest rather you should read this article because it will help you to study EST very in depth. So Mount Everest का height बढ़ रहा है, कम हो रहा है, क्या है ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. Basically the studies have shown that, some geographical studies have shown that, some archaeological studies have shown that the actual height of a Mount Everest is somewhat low what it was found of about 100 years back. Q. Reason is again the global warming. So that is one more area. Next one, ये क्यों हो रहा है? Because there is direct impact. अब ocean acidification मतलब क्या होता है? So basically होता क्या है, जब भी आप लोग किसी चीज को ज्यादा अमाउंट में क्रिएट करना शुरू कर देते हो. ओके, फॉर एग्जाम्पल कंसिडर कीजिए कि आप बहुत ज्यादा अमाउंट में आउटपुट दे रहे हो ऐसे कंपोनेंट्स का जिसका pH 7 से ज्यादा है. सो इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, आप लोगों को ये पता होगा कि व्हेन pH इज मोर देन 7 इट विल बी एसिडिक और बेसिक. यू हैव टू टेल मी. ओके, सो this will be the topic we'll be covering up later, but you have to tell me, write down in the comment box, if the pH is more than 7, is it acidic or basic? If the pH is less than 7, it is acidic or basic. So basically होता क्या है, the normal pH is of 7. Okay, the normal pH is also not 7. We usually people drink water which is having a pH lighter than 7, slightly higher than 7. We usually do not exactly drink a water of 7 pH. It is impossible. So because the 7 pH has neutral capacity, it has no salts, it has no minerals, so it is actually not efficient to drink such a kind of water. Henceforth normally हम जो घड़े का पानी पीते हैं या फिर मटके का पानी पीते हैं, that is more preferable than actually drinking a water to that of the filters which we use right now in our homes or colleges, etc. So that's another part. We'll not discuss the same thing, but you have to keep in mind ocean acidification का मतलब होता है कि when there is a decrease in the pH, okay, अर्थ के ओशन में अगर आप बहुत ज़्यादा डर्ट मटेरियल डाल देते हो, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंडस्ट्री में से जो मटेरियल निकलता है डर्टी मटेरियल, वो आप ओशंस में डाल देते हो, क्या होगा, जितना डर्ट मटेरियल उसमें जाएगा, ऑफ कोर्स इसका सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट क्या होने वाला है, इम्पैक्ट होगा दैट योर ओशन इज गेटिंग पोल्यूटेड, उसका पीएच कम हो जाएगा, सो दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ओशन एसिडिफिकेशन. इसका सबसे बड़ा इम्पैक्ट होगा कोरल रीफ्स पे, अंदर के जो ऑर्गेनिजम्स है, प्लांट्स है, वो सब खत्म होना शुरू हो जाते हैं. दैट इज अ मेजर इम्पैक्ट ऑफ ओशन एसिडिफिकेशन. The same was given a study by, again you have to keep this concept in mind, that is UNFCCC, it's United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This was a question asked in the last examination, what is the full form of UNFCCC? So you have to rectify it, okay? Now let's just wind it up. We'll just go with major causes. So major causes of the global warming are greenhouse gases. So we have discussed about it. Greenhouse gases कौन से होते हैं? Like we had said, greenhouse gases are the primary one, and the secondary one will be the pollutants like soot. That means जिसे हम धूल कहते हैं या फिर धूल, स्पेशली धुआं, ओके, जो गाड़ियों में से निकलता है या फिर फैक्ट्रीज में से निकलता है, दैट इज सूट. एंड दैट इज अगेन वन मिक्सचर, that is aerosol. Aerosol means it is one of the form of pollutant which is a mixture of air and water droplets. So that is one of the major hazardous or difficult part to look forward for a cause. The next one is global warming. जैसे कि हमने डिस्कस किया था, it is one of the cause of greenhouse effect. So you can just take down this picture, just click it so that it becomes easy for you to study. आप देख सकते हो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड हैज अ मेजर रोल, राइट, बिकॉज इट इज हैविंग अ मेजर पार्ट. एंड हाउ? बिकॉज इट इज ऑलमोस्ट अ पार्ट which is covered up with our globe. So that is carbon dioxide. That is the reason carbon dioxide is considered hazardous also and useful also. Similarly, one more thing you have to keep in mind, that global warming के जैसे एटमॉस्फेयर, दैट मीन्स द सेम ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस का एटमॉस्फेयर आपको तीन और अगर प्लैनेट्स में मिल सकता है, दैट इज वीनस, मार्स एंड टाइटन. सो दिस कैन बी अ क्वेश्चन व्हिच कैन बी रेज्ड. You can find the same, almost same atmosphere of greenhouse gases if they are working over there on Venus, Mars and Titan. So basically it is causing an impact on vegetation, it is causing an impact on photosynthesis, it is causing an impact on the atmosphere, it is causing an impact on ability of the plants to capture the carbon dioxide, organisms to live, soil degradation, erosion, leaching, etc, etc. It is basically also causing an impact on the aerosols, that means suspended gases होते हैं, उसकी वजह से भी होता है. Now you have to keep in mind this term, that Frederick Donen, he was a person in the First World War. He actually gave the concept of air solutions. Okay, so basically air solutions were basically at that time used were as a kind of weaponaries over there. But now the example has turned on into sprays. So that is an impact. So I've shown it in the picture also, that spray, we are spraying on the spray, and that is one of the form of aerosol. So that is giving an impact. And natural aerosol, अगर आप, मैंने जैसे बोला था आपको लास्ट, हमने एक स्लाइड में देखा था, fog and mist you can't convert it into precipitation. Reason is because they are actually a kind of pollutant. So that is the same thing I was saying. Fog, mist, dust. If we get time, if time permits us, we'll of course look at these kind of examples also, these kind of parts also. But right now you have to keep in mind that natural aerosols कौन से हैं? That is fog, mist, dust. Okay, basically ये तीन चार भी आप याद रखो तो it is more than enough. And anthropogenic, that is human created pollutants कौन से है? तो smoke and air pollutants. इसका सबसे ज्यादा इफेक्ट किस पे होगा? ऑफ कोर्स ह्यूमन पे होगा. सो इवन दो गिवन अ लिस्ट ऑफ टॉप, दैट मीन्स इफेक्ट्स, you have to keep in mind the major effect which is being caused is on human. जैसे हमने पहले डिस्कस किया था, if you don't want to get extinct from the earth, you have to survive, and if you have to survive, you have to protect the physical environment, your natural environment, your food, livelihood, industry, etc., etc., etc. So that is something about global warming. So if you have any kind of a problem, just comment me in the comment section. Till then, study hard.